Ho, ho, ho! That's right. Seems like an early Christmas came for some of college football's teams in the form of the early signing period, while some got a sack of, or what is it, a lump of coal in their stockings on early signing period as compared as what they were supposed to do. So, happy KMCA. Don't lose your noodle, don't wet your diaper, and most of all, don't be a skittle shitter and subscribe to the Outlaw of College Football. Now, let's talk about it. That's right. Here we are. It's a Christmas Eve edition of the OCF. That's me, the Outlaw of College Football, also known as JPC. That's Jesse Paul Clark on Facebook, spelled Jesse without the I. Also on Twitter at OCF Productions. Now, getting right into it here. Seems like some people had a nice little Christmas and some people didn't get quite what they expected or quite what they were predicted to be. And as you can see, I'm going to throw the top 10 up here in just a second. Let's run down this list because I feel like there's something missing, man, in these ingredients. You know, you need all these ingredients for great Christmas meals and dishes. Well, this pre-Christmas meal here looks like it's missing an ingredient or something. But number 1 is Alabama. Number 2, Georgia. Number 3, Texas. Number 4, Miami. Number 5, Oklahoma. Number 6, Ohio State. Number 7, LSU. Number 8, Notre Dame. Number 9, Tennessee. Number 10, the Clemson Tigers. Something's missing. What is it? I don't know. It just seems to me like some certain fan base and contingent was on here railing me, telling me profusely how way back in April when their most fierce rival now, the Oklahoma Sooners, was down number 43, and they were just floating in there about 17th or 18th. They was like, yeah, Oklahoma's just can't recruit there. You can see now that old Lincoln Riley was right. That's why he's here, and that's why he's the next Messiah of USC football, because he knows all. And I told him, I tried to explain to him, look, Alabama was number 53 back in February, and ended up with the number 1 class. I think it was a couple of years ago that they done that, or ended up with number 2. So to get that excited that early on in the signing period, or that recruiting cycle, because you just had a signing period and the new recruiting cycle was beginning, was a little counting your chickens way before they hatch. I mean, hell, this chicken ain't even come out of the chicken's ass yet, and they're already talking that shit. So I'm like, where y'all at? I'm looking down this list and I'm thinking maybe I missed it. Y'all see it on there? No, I don't see y'all. Where y'all at? Maybe they're right outside the top 10. Let's look. Let's see. 11 through. No, that's Oregon. Number 11. Number 12 is Florida, and Florida was like what, 6-6, and got beaten down by Oregon State, and they still finished in the top 12. Texas A&M follows up the number 1 class with a number 13. Number 14, Penn State. Oh, there they are. Number 15, USC Skittle Shitters. Well, I'll be damned. Y'all midway down the teens, man. Now, while that's a good class for most programs, y'all have preached to me all year about how, yes, Oklahoma has passed us now, but there's still time. But back in April, there wasn't time. But when I was giving y'all hell about Oklahoma passing you in September, y'all still had time. One of our famous trolls, Daniel Bitzer, was like, you just wait till the early signing period. There's going to be a bunch of people that flip, and they're going to come to USC and blah, 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 because the Messiah of college football is upon thee. Well, I hate to tell you this, but y'all been had. He's a false prophet because, yeah, like I said, 15th is good for a lot of schools, but not for a school that's professing to be the next coming of a dynasty. they said that, USC was going to take over everything, according to a lot of the USC fans. Yet they're barely in the top 15. And what's even more funnier than that is right below them at number 16 is South Carolina, the other USC. Y'all almost were not even the best USC out there. But going back over these recruiting rankings, the most positive stories out of these recruiting rankings for me was Alabama made it back to number 1. Alabama's been proclaimed the number 1 recruiting class numerous times under Nick Saban. Last year they lost that mantle to Texas A&M. Now it's happened probably 3, maybe 4 times in Nick Saban's tenure here that he wasn't the number 1 class. So for him to be able to regain that number 1 class, especially all with the negative recruiting against him as far as his age goes, I think was a pretty decent story. One of the biggest stories for me, though, positively speaking, is the Miami Hurricanes and what Mario Cristobal has been able to do there. Mario Cristobal in Miami didn't have a great regular season, but like I've explained numerous times, most great coaches, when they come into a program that they're trying to restore, have to clean out a lot of the muck, but they can't get rid of completely all the muck, and they usually have a subpar year. Maybe a little bit better than 500 or a little lower than 500, and that's exactly what Mario Cristobal done this year, which brings us to number 5, Oklahoma. Same thing, same deal. Except Brent Venables had to deal with a lot more controversy and a lot more turmoil than Mario Cristobal did. He had to come in and basically get a top 10 class out of a class that was just left in disarray by Lincoln Riley and rated by him, and even rated the current roster. They lost almost 40 players either through transfers to Lincoln Riley or graduation or just early exits for the NFL. So they was good at about 40 players, and he still finished in the top 5. But you can't recruit to Oklahoma. That was the whole mantle and the whole preaching of Colin Cowherd and Lincoln Riley through the offseason. Is the reason why he left is because they just couldn't win a national championship because you couldn't recruit to Oklahoma. Yet, Brent Venables in his first year back in Oklahoma has put them in the top 10 twice, now in the top 5, I think for the first time in Oklahoma history since they started doing these rankings. But you can't recruit to Oklahoma, right? I mean, they were 6-6 too. You were 11-2. Y'all been bragging about this 11-2 shit all off season. Oh, we're 11-2. They're 6-6. That's what I call a mirage year. That's what I call a Gene Chizik, Larry Coker year. And if y'all don't know who they are, Gene Chizik was a head coach at Auburn, won a national championship in like his first 2 years, and then Larry Coker won a national championship his first year. But they won it with recruits that were left over from a previous regime, and once they started getting their people in and whatnot, we started seeing exactly who they were, and that's what's going to happen with Lincoln Riley. Now, I don't think Lincoln Riley will completely bottom out like Larry Coker and Gene Chizik did, but I could see him slipping down to 8-4, 9-3, and that's not what USC is supposedly paid him for. Now, they may backtrack and say, "Oh no, we're fine with that because we used to be 4-8," but that's not what they were saying at the beginning, because they thought they were going to be King Dingaling. They just stole Lincoln Riley. Also, disappointments. I already went over the big disappointment that is the USC Skittle Shooters, but at number 17. The Michigan Wolverines. To me, Michigan really underachieved in the fact that they've beaten Ohio State 2 years in a row, and they won the Big Ten title 2 years in a row. They've been in the playoffs 2 years in a row now, and they finished 11 spots behind the team that had been, excuse me, they finished 11 spots behind the team that had been their nemesis, the team they couldn't beat for so long, and still Ohio State is beating them by double digits in recruiting rankings. So that was my good and the bad of this early signing period. You guys and gals, tell me what you think about this. Who do you think was the major disappointments, and who do you think was the great positive stories? Mine were mainly Alabama regained number 1, Miami finishing in top 4, and Oklahoma finishing in top 5. Both teams with a a lot of turmoil, and they overcame it. So just drop it in the comment section. Tell me what you think. Like, share, comment, and subscribe to this channel. Also, there's a little heart down here. If you don't mind, hit that. Throw a few dollars in the coffers for me this Christmas Eve. And as always, KMCA to all the other teams. Class is now officially dismissed.